Maneva na sema PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV de osia dem yopo.
Kwesi Pratt Jr. commended President John Dramani Mahama for a outstanding 1-year performance. Na nekasa mono na or reacted to ensema Kwame Mpianin ene afenso no nana Akomea ya omobo President John Dramani Mahama abaso say for this 1 year President John Dramani Mahama steer the affairs of the country ni there waye adwumason na he deserves a commendation. Kwesi Pratt Jr. Etwa Nesemso or commended President John Dramani Mahama on on foreign policies. Efa kwanya Israel efa so deporte Ghana phobi ema omoba Ghana ha ema President John Dramani Mahama and afenso the foreign minister eteki a quick retaliation and also a deporte some Israelis. Kwesi Pratt Jr. abo President John Dramani Mahama abaswa what I say or ma and I say or defend the dignity of Ghanaians. Now, Otto Nesemson or San Kasafa recently US for Ecofa the president of Venezuela, your friend Nicolas Maduro, a free Venezuela, the new PM the United States, facing prosecution. Kwesi Pratt Jr. a China dream alpha letter His Excellency Okujeto Ablakwa a Troye on US Jumadia Mokodi Venezuela. Na yentie Kwesi Pratt Jr. Nensema or the Tudra.
Having said that, there are significant developments which cannot be ignored. And you can say that if you look at the microeconomic situation today, the facts speak for themselves. The Nana Akufo-Addo administration managed to take inflation all the way to 54%. Yeah. By December, when they were exiting, they had brought inflation down to 23%. Fact. Now, significantly, within 12 months, inflation has declined to only 5.4%. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, that's really significant. As we started making noises about single-digit inflation, we were impressed by the single-digit inflation, which was achieved in the Mills time, during the Mills presidency. But we never came down to 5.4. 5.4 is a very significant number. And you can't take it away from the government, President John Dramani Mahama. The other significant macroeconomic indicator, has to do with, apart from inflation, it's just how well the city is doing. And the city went all the way up to 17, to $1. By December, when the MPP was exiting office, it had come down to about 14, to $1. Now it is hovering around 10.4, 10.5 to $1. And that's also quite, significant. And so the macroeconomic indicators look very good. I'm one person who has said all the time that these indicators don't tell the full story. And I still insist that they don't tell the full story because they are statistical averages, And statistical averages can hide a lot. I can explain that, later. But nonetheless, there are some broad indications of how the economy is moving. And so, one of the things which also many people have observed is simply the fact that prices have come down. Right. I mean, some have said that the prices have not come down enough, but they have come down, and that is significant. I mean, this is a country in which prices hardly come down. So when you have a situation where prices are coming down, it's important. Again, we haven't fully established the correlation between, some of the indicators and actual consumption and price and so on. And you can see that in the agricultural sector, the agricultural and food sector. So, for example, the price of maize has significantly fallen to the extent that maize producers are complaining, and some are even threatening that they may not continue to produce maize in the coming year. But the price of kinky, the size of kinky, has actually not fallen.
Right.
You understand? So the correlation has not been established. Again, Ghana has been largely an import-dependent economy.
Right.
There are signs that that is changing. I mean, if you come to poultry, for example, there are significant signs that the situation is changing. For example, if you go to the National Service Project somewhere up Hacho and so on, today it is possible to buy, one full chicken for 120 cedis.
Right.
When it was selling at between 160 and 170 on the market. There's a glut, eggs. There's so much eggs that producers are complaining that they're finding it very difficult to get buyers, forcing the government to introduce a program of sending eggs to schools and so on. So all of these are very significant, indicators. Yesterday, I read news about the significant improvements that have occurred in the energy sector. The energy sector debt has been significantly reduced. I mean, in 2025, government paid close to $1.5 billion of the energy sector debt. I think it's 1.47.
Yes, 1.47, yes.
Of the energy sector debt. And then the guarantee which was provided by the World Bank, 500 million guarantee, has also been restored and so on. So this really has improved the life of the energy sector and so on. But here too, there are important questions to raise. And we are saying that through governmental effort, through state effort, we are solving the problems of the energy sector. We've largely accounted for doomsaw and so on. At the same time, we are talking about privatizing the sector. It doesn't jive. If government is able to revive the sector, if government is able to make the sector healthy, why then do you want to privatize? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And you can see that there's a lot of agitation on the labor front already about privatization. So we need to rethink, the strategy. One of the other things that has struck me in this last 12 months is just the modesty that the president personally exudes. I mean, it's phenomenal. It's amazing. I'm so very impressed with the modesty that the president exudes. You see, we tend to take many things for granted, but I was struck by the fact that during the New Year and Christmas celebrations, the president actually took his time and entered every office in the Flagstaff House to thank his staff for the work they have done, which has brought the country this far. And when I saw the video and I saw him walk to the gate to talk to the security personnel there and to embrace the workers and so on, I was very highly impressed. I don't know if it's happened before. I mean, normal thing is that the president zoom past the gate, they receive the salutes, they go into their office, they don't even know who are at the gates and so on. So I was really very impressed, by this.
Unless, of course, it has happened that we're not aware of, but otherwise it's unprecedented.
Yeah, otherwise.
Unless, of course, happened off camera.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
It's unprecedented, yes.
The way he mingles, not just with his own staff at the Flagstaff House, but the way he mingles with everybody and so on. And I'm sure all of you have heard stories about how easily he's accessible. Many people are able to reach him, to put forward their problems and so on. I think that's significant. For me, the other significant thing, and this is very, very significant for me, is the role of political parties in governance. This country has had the experience of people being elected on political party tickets. They get into office and then they say to hell to the political parties. The political parties have no role to play. Within this last 12 months, we've had a situation where the National Democratic Congress as a party is holding government to account. And it's insisting that the party philosophy, the party program needs to be implemented. I mean, the general secretary of the party, Fifi Kweti, has been constantly reminding the government of the promise it made to the people and insisting that the government must keep those promises. In fact, 2 weeks ago, at a ceremony somewhere, I think in Ada or so, he came down very heavily on persons he describes as sycophants, whose actions may derail, the government and so on. So,
some party faithfuls didn't take kindly to those statements at all. They were very livid.
That's their business.
Yes, they were very livid.
But then the party leadership is demonstrating that it is not going to be sycophantic. It is going to say it as it is and to insist that the government should be held accountable and so on. And I find that also most impressive. We haven't had that in our politics, over a very long period of time. And I'm very, very impressed by the fact that the party is holding, the government to account and is insisting on so many things. In fact, during the debate on the bill, proper sexuality bill and so on, the party came out and restated its position very, very strongly. There is something else which was developing, which I thought could affect the government. The fact that many of the appointees and so on were jumping ahead of their time and declaring themselves presidential hopefuls and causing a mess and so on. The party took a very firm stand, and now sanity is being restored. I'm told, for example, that the Council of Elders is about to issue a very stern public warning, and so-called aspirants, whoever they are, quickly went to the Council of Elders and negotiated a position. So you see that some sanity has been restored. And I think it's important for a party in government to focus on doing the business it was elected to do. And that those who have childish dreams about themselves becoming president and so on should be kept in check, and it is being done quite effectively, and I'm happy, about that. I'm also quite impressed by the leanness of government. President Mahama promised that if elected, he will work with 60 ministers. Today, my count is that he's working with less than 60 ministers. And it hasn't caused any big problem. There are some who actually believe that you can work with less than 60 ministers. And I think so, that it's possible to work with less than 60 ministers. But be that as it may, compared to what was happening before him, I think that it is remarkable that he's managed to do 1 year with less than 60 ministers, and the results are impressive. Again, one of the programs which is attracting a lot of attention is the Big Push project, and of course, in 1 year you cannot expect all the roads, all the decaying infrastructure, to be fully rehabilitated. But just the idea that there's some focus on it, and this morning I'm reading that government is going to float 10 billion CD bond.
Domestic.
Domestic bonds in order to raise funds to accelerate the pace of the repair of national infrastructure. That's impressive. I mean, today, even in Accra, in many of the communities, the road network is horrible, really horrible. And one expects that within the 4-year period, a lot will be done, in order to improve national infrastructure. So there are so many other things that can be said. And yesterday, one of the things which impressed me a lot is the fact that there are people who are even in opposition to government who readily and publicly acknowledge that a lot of useful things have happened over the last 12 months. And yesterday, it was a pleasure to listen to Nana Akomea, who came out and said, look, I mean, we cannot ignore the fact that there have been some improvements. Of course, he then argued that every government since 1992 has had a lot of praise for its first year. But the acknowledgement that something positive has happened is very significant, coming from even somebody like Nana Akomea.
But that's not surprising, Kwesi. You know Nana Akomea. He's a moderate.
well, however you call it.
Yeah, so he's a very good friend.
But beyond that,
Yes.
I mean, I've heard somebody like Mr. Kwame Mpianin,
Right.
my very, very good friend, who said very favorable comments about the performance of this administration in its first year. And you have to take Mr. Kwame Mpianin serious.
Of course.
You know, he's one politician who has always said it as it is. You know, and he's not one who's looking for favors from anybody. You know, so when he says that something good has happened, it is refreshing. I've also listened to Mr. Ishmael Yamson, you know, who's a very respected, you know, business mogul, and he thinks that some very positive things have happened and so on. So broadly, the 1 year of the Mahama administration has been remarkable. There's been some progress, you know, and so on. I've seen also the survey which was conducted by
Global Info Analytics. Musa Dankwa.
Which says that the president has 70% approval. That's very huge. 70% approval is very, very huge. Then I also look at foreign policy. And I have my problems with foreign policy. But by and large, I think that the dignity of the Ghanaian in international relations has been upheld in this period. One of the things that really impresses me is the fact that President John Dramani Mahama is the current AU champion on reparations. And he appears to be pushing the agenda very, very forcefully, you know, to the extent that all the West African countries have come to the conclusion that they will back him for the position of AU chairmanship, you know, next year. I mean, that's very, very significant. I was very, very impressed when the Ministry of Foreign Affairs took measures against Israel for treating Ghanaian MPs and citizens very, very badly. You know, they took retaliatory measures, and I was very impressed by that. I've been very impressed by Ghana's insistence on the rule of international law, you know, and so on. That's also very impressive. I'm, however, worried. I'm very deeply worried that the de-recognition of the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic has not been altered yet.
Right.
I mean, that's a huge problem. I expected that in the first few weeks of the assumption of office, the Mahama administration would take steps to recognize, you know, the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic.
But I thought it was one of the marching orders of Larry Gbagbolati because of his position. Larry Gbagbolati, you know, he's Ghana's envoy on the Sahelian.
No, I'm talking about the Western Sahara.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that. I confused that with. Okay, that's fine.
Up to now, there does not appear to be any clarity on the question.
Right.
I think that that's a foreign policy failure.
Right.
You know, I also think that the decision to recognize or to accept the Moroccan plan for the partial autonomy of the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic is also a foreign policy failure. You understand? But by and large, I think that even in the area of foreign policy, government has done fairly well. You know, it has upheld the dignity of the African people, it has upheld the dignity of the Ghanaian people, and it's doing well.
Okay.
You know.
Okay, see, I would have to take a break. But speaking about our foreign policy decisions, which you have, you know, succinctly analyzed, I'd want to find out from you whether the statements that our foreign minister issued on the invasion of Venezuela and the ousting of Maduro, whether the decision that we took, I mean, whether I don't know you've seen the statement, whether you think that that statement or our position on that matter was spot on. You know, I'll come back.
Excellent statement.
I'll come back to you on that.
And it's one statement which everybody is hailing around the world.
Okay.
I mean, it fits into the position of many Democratic senators.
Let me take this short break.
Republican senators.
I beg you, I'll take this short break. When I come back, I'll get you so that you can take your time and tell me why you think there was a statement. I was asking you about whether we got it right. We're spot on with the statement we issued on the invasion of Venezuela by the American authorities.
Well, I think that was a very brilliant statement.
Why?
One, because of its emphasis on respect for international law. And I've been reading all the statements which have been issued by all governments and so on. And one, I find that the statement which was issued by Ghana is actually in sync with the AU position. Because the AU insisted that what happened in Venezuela was a violation of international law, a clear violation of international law. I've also even looked at statements issued by the Western countries, and even as Western leaders insist that President Maduro was not a democrat, was a dictator and so on, they still come back to the question that what the Trump administration did violated international law, and they all advocate a return to the principles of international law and so on. So the Ghana statement did not stick out. The Ghana statement was in sync with the aspirations of the world, I thought that it was a very good statement.
Okay.
I thought that once again, Ghana was treading the path of non-alignment in international relations. I thought that once again, Ghana was insisting on a rule-based world order, which is the only way we can survive as citizens of this world and so on. So I thought it was brilliant. I mean, the other thing which impressed me about the statement is that normally, when presidents of the US and powerful leaders around the world take action, governments tend to play a wait and see. They take a wait and see attitude. They wait for others to react, and then they can toe the line, and they think it's safer. Ghana did not take that path. Ghana was one of the nations which came out very, very fast on this issue and set the line. I was very, very impressed.
Oh,
very impressed.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how we should be conducting our foreign policy.
Right.
I was so impressed, by the action which the Ghana government took on this particular matter.
Okay. Yeah. Let me come to you, Collins. So I guess that you're done on the foreign policy front.
Yeah, so far.
Okay, I was going to ask
there are some problems with our foreign policy. I mean, we have appointed a special envoy to the Sahel states, Lieutenant Colonel Larry Gbagbo-Latte.
Right.
We tend to insist on not breaking our relations with the Sahel states, and there are very good reasons for that. Burkina Faso, for example, all of its imports come through the Ghana and Togo, harbors and so on. And that has substantial economic benefits for us. Now, if you go to our border, the ethnic groups, the Moshis are in Ghana, they are in Burkina, and you can find many other ethnic groups and so on, So it's important for us to maintain this good relationship. That policy itself is very good. But then there are indications that our territory is also being used to subvert Burkina Faso especially. And I don't know if you've seen the video of this unidentified aircraft, which has been operating in the Paga area, ostensibly for the United States Armed Forces, and collecting, data and information for the United States Armed Forces and so on. Burkina Faso must see as a threat to its sovereignty. Okay. Our agreement, the defense agreement with the U.S., to allow the U.S. to use Ghana as a forward operating base is also a problem, for our relations with the Sahel states. So there are all these things which needs to be tied up properly. Okay. And I think that the government needs to take the agitation, for the closing of the U.S. forward operating base, in Ghana, very seriously.
Okay. Oh no. What are your thoughts? 1 year has the president started well?
Well, good morning to yourself and Kwesi and to our cherished viewers. I think it would be unfair on my part to say that nothing has happened. I think I'll be truthful obviously some good things have occurred. The best you can do is to commend them for that, and to hope that it continues. I remember when I used to work in the corporate world, and one day, Uncle Kwesi, I got a call from my managing director. I just couldn't believe it, that my managing director sitting up there will call me as a relationship officer at a certain branch to check up what is happening. So to see the president himself walk up to a gatesman, let me put it that way, somebody who opens gates for his convoy to enter, and for him to get down and go to shake hands with the person and acknowledge the little work that the person is doing. You can imagine how that person will feel when he goes home. The excitement in his or her mind, the eyes, and all that. So the optics are good. You can't take that away from him. I'm not too sure if this is the first time any head of state has done so. But of course, we can safely assume, once we don't have any video to that effect. Exactly. But I recall when Ghana qualified to the World Cup, if you recall, that was Akufo-Addo's birthday.
Yes.
And I saw workers within the Jubilee House move to his office and to wish him a happy birthday, and the way he was also interacting with them. Those ones we saw on video. And things like that, Uncle, it helps. It motivates. The young lady, Muslim lady with the Muslim hijab, who hugged the president, you know, that will be exciting for the young lady. So the optics are good. One thing that I think the president has done so well now is his attitude towards his citizens. You know, I watched him at the Wasa games? That's how they call it. The police. They have this occasion where the security agencies meet to interact and have fun.
Yes. In fact, it was a video that trended.
Yes, I saw.
He was on the dance floor with
CID
boss.
Yes,
the IGC.
I've seen, yes, those ones I've seen Akufo-Addo do so. I've seen other presidents do so. But I saw the lady who was singing. Okay. And when she got closer to the president and the president, singing along and all that is quite it's quite exciting, and I think it's something that it brings some human touch to the big man. I mean, sometimes you see him as the number one, and he's the number one. You know, for him to come close to you, it's quite interesting. So that I can commend him on that. On the economy, there are certain things you don't argue about, even if it was predicted. You know, I recall the World Bank, IMF, all those Bretton Woods institutions, on the basis of the IMF program that we were on, predicted that we're going to go to a single digit at the end of the year. So for them to achieve it before the end of the year, that in itself is a good thing. Exchange rate has remained relatively stable. I'm sure we can have a discussion as to the processes leading to that stability. That's another discussion altogether. But the fact that the exchange rate has been stable, it's something that you can't take away from them, and can commend them for that. Okay. But I want to also look at his first year on the basis of some of the promises that were made to the Ghanaian people. We're told about a 24-hour economy. I'm not too sure whether that has manifested yet. Because for the first time, I think it was just the 2026 budget that some funds was allocated to that particular program. I've seen different government officials explain the 24-hour economy in different ways. You know, some say it's going to be private sector led. I recall during the election when the chairman of the party said, it's not compulsory. You can decide to. Yes, you can decide. I cannot direct managers of teaching hospitals to operate 24-hour OPD and lab services. Yes. So I don't know whether that particular promise, which was a key manifesto pledge, has been implemented yet. Galamsey.
Yeah.
I think the president in his first year has not met the expectations of Ghanaians on the issue of Galamsey. The issue of Galamsey is still persistent, and in some areas it's even getting worse. We've heard Ghana Water complain bitterly about the effect of Galamsey on its operations.
Yeah.
Just yesterday, we were told that Nungwa, Teshi, and all those places, because of the plants in those areas that have been shut down, are going through some rationing.
Right.
So I'm not too sure that particular promise within this first year has been met. Unfortunately, there's been some casualties with the NIMOS officials and its operations. We've had key government officials being investigated for Galamsey, and we were told by the Attorney General himself that the national organizer of the party, the NDC, and I think the third vice chair are being investigated. We are yet to get feedback on that. That should tell you the extent of this Galamsey menace. And so that is an area that I think needs a lot more improvement in this year. Security. I mean, I don't recall any time that Ghanaians were refugees in Cote d'Ivoire because of some escalating tensions in the north. This happened last year. I'm just hoping that government this year will have a foothold, strong foothold on our security situation this particular year. LGBTQ. Kwesi touched on it briefly. If you recall, this was a major campaign issue. Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo was faulted for not signing the bill into law, and we were told before the election that His Excellency was going to do the do and sign the bill into law. Subsequently, we were told that once Parliament, the life of that Parliament has ended, the bill has to come start all over again. Some private members pushed through the bill. It appeared on the order paper. The majority leader informed us that there was an administrative error. Till date, that administrative error has not been corrected. It has not found its way back onto the paper. Interestingly, all the Christian community, the Muslim community, and you are here, my brother, who trooped to Parliament and who were sitting in the public gallery, suddenly have left the public gallery. The media, who was yourself, and I recall, you're one of the vociferous voices on this particular issue of LGBTQ. Suddenly, you are mute. Oh. Yes, you are not talking about it. The bill now has not found its way onto...
We will talk about it.
Oh, okay. When are you talking about it? We were told that it was going to be signed into law. Immediately enters Parliament. Here we are in the second year. It is not even a topical issue on radio. It's not a topical issue on Good Morning Ghana. And nobody's discussing
We'll bring it back.
You bring it back. But that was one of the key promises of the administration. And I'm just hoping that it comes back to the front burner, and hope that this year we are going to have it. Moro, you assure me that it's going to be taken care of. That's fine. Oral.
Right.
And I recall vividly our discussion on this platform.
The fight against corruption.
Yes, I was here with the Venerable Kwesi when the newspapers reported they use the word, I want to get the, like corruption, like corrupt people. Okay. They told us that $21 billion has been lost, and that, they are going to retrieve it. They're going to make sure that corruption is taken out, blah, 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 blah. Here we are. Today, if you listen to the Attorney General himself, he says, not all the 21 billion will be recovered. Not all the 21 billion will be recovered. I listened to Dom Levo. He said, what we gave them was garbage in, garbage out. It was what was received, was what was presented. No auditing has been done. Take your time. You were here. I was here with you. You were the host. Yes. You were the host.
So some of the things.
You were the host when we were told that these people were looters.
Okay.
And I cautioned that we should be careful with the language. But we needed power, so it was okay. Today, we don't know where the looters are. We don't know how much has been retrieved out of the 21 billion. We don't know who has been convicted. That was also one of the problems that I saw this year. Kwesi also talked about the energy sector debt. And we saw a very interesting statement from the finance minister.
Won't you commend the government?
Oh, I'm coming to make my point. When the heading was, the Mahama government clears energy sector debts. And it was as if this was the first time energy sector debt was being paid. Same finance minister in his 2025 budget indicated that the same amount of 1.4 billion that he has paid was also paid in 2024. It's not novel, but I commend them for continuing the process of reducing the debts, especially when they brought in the 1 Ghana cedi. And more, I was here with you when the discussion ensued. They told us that by the end of the year, they were going to accumulate 5.4 billion based on the fiscal impact analysis report that the finance minister gave us. When he presented his 2026 budget, they had accumulated 8.6 billion. Converted to dollars, that's almost $800 million. If you have extra $800 million and you use 300, almost 400 million to pay IPPs, what has happened? It has to be a normal process. This year, he's anticipating to get a little over 11 billion Ghana cedis. Convert that to C's. So yes, if you tax us more and you get more revenue, and you use that to reduce our debt, thank God. I want to thank him for reducing our debt. Today, as we speak to you today, electricity has gone up by 28.14%.
You mean cumulative?
Relatively, of course. The whole of last year, it was 18.34% electricity tariffs. They have also increased it by another 9.something%. So currently, the total tariffs from the time His Excellency took over till date is 28.14%. That's also happened in last year. So yes, some good things have happened. And I must commend them for that. And as I said, the optics look nice. And when you see the president interacting with the ordinary Ghanaians, it looks beautiful. But I also hope that they go back to their manifesto and execute all the promises that they talked about. The big push. When they came to Parliament and they presented the project list, Moro, go and check it well. Almost 40 to 50% of it are continuing projects. That's fantastic. It's good. I want to commend them for that. If you continue existing projects and then you intend to ensure that it is completed, we don't have any problem with that. It's a good program, but it's important that we also make it clear that yes, they are continuing existing projects, just like what they are doing at Pokwase. It's beautiful. The last time I passed by, I realized that the contractor has done some asphalting on one side of the road. That is good. That is good governance. That is continuation.
Right.
So yes, we'll commend them for the good things that have happened, but also remind them of some of the promises that they made to the Ghanaian people on Galamsey, on security, on LGBTQ, and all that. We hope that this year, all these issues come to the fore and become at the fore.
Dedi kama Mamena PENDREAM TV ase. Now so far so good. Say open online portal e wo Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.